Okay, so we are trialling a new filming location. Hi everybody, it's Jade, and I think you can probably just see Pippin's legs in the periphery of this. He has decided to... I say he has decided to join me. I've invaded his nap spot to try a different filming location, so... the reason I've decided to film in my bedroom as opposed to my study, other than the fact that my study is currently a mess, is that I felt like the bookshelf background was just getting a little bit boring. And I mean, obviously I did it because this is a booktube channel, so having a background of books makes sense, but it's the same books every single time, and I feel like it's just getting a bit boring, and my bookshelves are quite dark and my bedroom is like lighter and stuff like that. So let me know if you prefer this filming location or the bookshelf filming location, and I mean either one. Right, so today I'm going to be filming a little bit of a little book haul because I've been out quite a bit at the moment. Obviously we had a couple of bank holidays. I went to Bath and there is a lovely independent bookstore there that is in an old Quaker meeting house, and it's everything a bookshop should be. There are ladders on wheels that you can like swing around so you can get to the books at the top and everything like that, and the next time I go I will definitely film it. Also, a little independent bookshop has opened up in my village, which is amazing. It means I don't have to traipse into town to buy books. I mean, I did buy books in my village. I bought them from the second-hand shop and everything like that, but if I want new releases and stuff, I'm not going to find them in the charity shop. And I usually used to go to Waterstones, which is fine, but if I can support a small independent as opposed to a massive conglomerate, I will do that. I'll let you know which books came from where. The first two are books that I bought from Tesco's when I was doing my weekly shop, because sometimes I just can't help myself. The first is How to Kill Your Family by Bella McKee, or Mackie. I've heard mixed reviews of this. Unfortunately, I only had the negative reviews after I bought it, so I don't know. This seems like a comedy thriller about a serial killer who, I don't know if her family have found out she's a serial killer and now she's like, oh well, now I have to kill you too, or if she's just decided she's going to kill her family. And I mean, I feel like it's self-explanatory in the title, but also I just love the pink on this. It's such a lovely pink. I need to stop like nervously laughing when I state my opinions on things, but... And the second book I've got from Tesco's was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I think you can see a theme here. This is another thriller type thing, but more of a, not true crime because it's fictional, but a student chooses a crime that happened in her town as her like final project at school, and as she delves deeper into it she realises that the person that was convicted of the murder of this girl called Andy Bell might not have actually done it, and it might be someone else who was, you know, still on the loose. And I just love the title, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It's great. Next, even though this is a little bit of a change of tact, because usually I leave my box of stories books till the end because I haven't like read what they're about or anything either, but I had got this box of stories a couple of months ago, but because I had no other books at that point to haul, I was like, well, I'm going to take them out of the box because it's taking up space, and I'm just going to put them in my haul pile. So I'm gonna talk about them now, because one of them actually is a book that I really wanted. So, and that one is Dal A For Aunties by Jessie Sutanto. This is like, I wouldn't say a romantic comedy, but once again a bit of like a dark comedy type thing where a girl is on a blind date, I think set up for by her aunties, and somehow she ends up killing her date. And so she calls her aunties for help because, I mean, it's kind of their fault as well. She is her rationale, and they're surprisingly like, yeah, don't worry, we got this. And I mean, I just love that whole concept. And again, the like pop art cover is great, so really excited to read this. First time I've said that in this video, and we're 3 books in, so I feel like that's growth. Oh wow. This is one that I hadn't heard of before. This is This Little Family by Inez Bayard. This is a weird book in that, like, the bottom is deckled, but the rest of the is not, so I feel like that's a printing mistake, but anyway, this is I don't know if you would call it a thriller, but basically there's a little family, and what are their names? Marie and Laurent, who are happy in their lives, they have jobs they like, they're quite secure, and they decide they're gonna try for a baby. But then something happens to Marie, either while she's trying to have a baby or just after she's conceived or something like that, and then 3 years later, they're all dead. And Marie has poisoned all of them. Like, that's not a spoiler, that's literally the blurb. So I'm assuming other stuff has gone on that we're gonna find out in this book, because if that's like the entire plot there. But yeah, that's interesting. So definitely one of the ones that I was like, never heard of before, but quite interested to try and read that. Next, this wasn't one that I necessarily was like, oh, I want that, but I've wanted to watch the movie of it. I didn't realise it was a book, and I don't know if this is a novelisation of the book or the other way around. But anyway, this is The News of the World. And this is set in a time in the Old West, I guess you could say, where being like not a news reporter. Is there a word for it? No. But there was a job where you could go from town to town reading the news, like the newspapers, because not everyone in that town could read, not everyone could afford the newspapers. Sometimes they were so far away that the newspapers wouldn't be delivered there, and the only news they got were like local town news. So his job is to go and talk about the big events that are happening in the country and the world, so to keep people like informed. And during this, he finds a little girl who was kidnapped by Native Americans, indigenous people, but the thing is, I think she was quite happy with them, but all of that tribe have either been massacred or like driven away, so he's trying to find her birth parents. So that's about as much as I know of this. The only reason I was sort of like, oh, I want to watch that movie is that it's got Tom Hanks in it, and I will watch anything with Tom Hanks in, so I had to take a second to figure out what the actual title of this was, because not loving this cover, I have to say. I think it's Night, Sleep, Death, the Stars. But yeah, not enjoying this cover. Yeah, it's huge. Okay, this actually seems quite interesting. This is a historical family drama set in... Wait, is it historical, or have I just, like, assumed that? Okay, it's possible that I've just assumed that. There is no point in this blurb that says that it's historical or gives a year, so for some reason that is just an assumption that I've made. But basically, the father of the family precipitates a tragedy which is not explained, and this book is dealing with the fallout with his wife and children and like the trauma that they've gone through because of whatever it is he's done. So I feel like that could be quite a heavy book that is, for some masochistic reason, one of the things that I gravitate towards, where I'm like, yes, this feels like it might hurt me emotionally, let's read that. Next are two books that I picked up from the charity shop recently. The first being Small Pleasures by Claire Chambers. I've seen this in so many bookshops, and for some reason, because even though every time I look on Goodreads it is on my want to read list, for some reason I wasn't convinced that it was, and therefore I was like, I'm not going to buy it new. And then I saw it and I was like, just buy it because you've seen it everywhere. Also, I like this. I don't know why. But basically, this follows the story of a journalist called, what's her name, Jean Sweeney, in 1957, who is contacted by a woman who claims that her daughter is the product of a virgin birth. And then the whole story is her trying to figure out if this woman is a fraud or not. And I imagine, based on the time that is set, 1957, it's in Southeast London, I'm imagining that it's also going to talk about the whole, I mean, it's still a thing today, obviously. In America, we've currently got the whole Roe versus Wade issue going on, but the whole shame that was on unwed pregnant women in the 1950s, and, you know, like the mother and baby homes and stuff like that. I'm hoping that it talks about that and dismantles that and everything, and like, why would a woman make such an outlandish claim that, oh no, it's a virgin birth? It's probably the shame of, well, actually, no, I had sex and I enjoyed it, and this is what has become of this. But yeah, so don't know why it's taken me so long to buy that. And the second book I bought from the charity shop is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This was one that I was fully planning on just buying whenever I saw it. So the fact that I saw it in a charity shop, I was like, ooh, awesome. This cover makes me deeply uncomfortable, and I think that is the point, but yes. This is a horror novel, and it follows a marine biologist by the name of Miri. Oh no, is it Leah is the marine biologist? Okay, so, anyway, it follows two women. Leah has gone on an expedition to the deep sea, so I'm assuming she's like the marine biologist. But when she comes back, Miri thinks that she's changed and something has gone wrong, and I'm assuming it's like a bit of like a Body Snatchers kind of situation, or like a retelling of like a siren or mermaid kind of tale, and it just, like, the description icked me out in such a good way that I was like, I really need to read this, which is also probably why the cover icks me out as well. Such a good way of describing that feeling. Okay, now for the books that I bought from the bookshop in Bath. I will endeavour to remember the name of said bookshop, and if I can, I'll put a link to it down in the description. There is also another bookshop which I didn't buy anything from, but is amazing, the Persephone Bookshop. Persephone is a publishing house based in Bath, which has a focus on publishing female authors from throughout history, especially female authors that were like forgotten or disregarded because of like their gender and everything. And an amazing thing as well is that all of the covers match, regardless of the author. All of the Persephone books look the same, and it's so beautiful. I am planning on going back to Bath at some point, and once again I will film when I'm there, because I think I'm going to go with a friend specifically to go on a bookshop tour as well. I mean, Bath is amazing and I love going there anyway, but back to the point. The first book I got from the bookshop in Bath was this little tiny book of Galatea by Madeline Miller. Picked this up literally just because it's written by Madeline Miller. I've always wanted to read the story of Galatea as well. I vaguely know of it, but only in so much as that it is the story that inspired like My Fair Lady and She's All That and stuff like that. So I was like, I will read literally anything Madeline Miller writes. If she published her shopping list, I would probably buy it and read it. So, and the fact that it's this adorable little tiny book, I was like, yes, please, I will be buying that. Next is a book that has been on my list for ages, and literally the only reason I haven't bought it yet, and why I finally caved, is that the English cover is absolute garbage. I don't know why I used the American term then, but anyway, see, like, the American cover of this book is gorgeous, and I will put it up on the screen next to this one so you can compare, and that is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is the god-awful English version. This is the very pretty American version. The only thing I have to say about this is that Carmen Maria Machado's other book, Her Body and Other Parties, the English cover is very similar to this. It's just a neon green instead of a neon orange. So, like, at least they match in their ugliness. But, yeah. But to be honest, I finally picked this up because it was there, and I was like, you want to read this, just get over yourself and pick up the book. So this is a story, I say story, it's a book written, I believe, in little vignettes, and each vignette is about a different type of trauma, or like dealing with trauma that she's had growing up, and I've heard that it's quite heartbreaking but beautifully written, and it's, like I said, it's been on my list for like so long. So yes, I will read it, even though, like I said, disgusting cover. The next one I got was The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. In comparison to In the Dream House, I love this cover. This is very pretty. This is a, I guess, dystopian novel set on a small island that has a group of people called the Memory Police, and they will go in and they will either like disappear people or disappear people's memories somehow. And so when they disappear people, they actually take away everyone else's memory of them, so it's like they never existed, like, at all. And that entire concept just intrigues me. I don't know why it took so long to figure out the word I wanted. I forgot it. Sorry. Just intrigues me, and I really hope that this book does that concept justice. I've heard this is quite a slow book, but I don't mind that. I'm hoping that if it's slow, it's just like rich in atmosphere. 'Cause sometimes slow atmospheric books are like better than the sharpest, punchiest books that I've read. So, I mean, someone has one of the reviews on this says a dreamlike story of dystopia. So I'm hoping that means it is very like slow, but there's rich atmosphere, and you sort of don't really know what is going on. Which I feel like, in terms of like say like Japanese horror, that's done. That they do that very, very well. So much better than like American horror films where it's all jump scares and shit like that. Japanese horror films and stuff are all about the atmosphere and just the creep factor. So I'm hoping that this has that. So I guess there's a little bit of a story behind this book specifically, is that about a year ago I lent my friend Miranda The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and because, literally just because of the type of printing that it was, the cover started to peel while she was reading it, because certain like cheap Penguin books and stuff like that do that. And so she was like, I don't want to give it back to you in this state. Would you like me to replace this with another copy of The Secret History, or would you like me to buy you another book? And I was sort of like, you don't have to get me a replacement. I'm fine with it. And then I forgot all about it until we were in Bath, and I had like my stack of books, and she was she picked, because she found this one that I've been talking about off the shelf. She's like, look, I found the book you were talking about. And I got really excited. And then I tried to take it from her, and she was like, no. And I was like, but I want that book. She was like, yes, I will buy it for you. And I was like, oh, okay. So my friends are lovely. Anyway, very long story about this book. This is My Pen is the Wing of a Bird. This is a collection of short stories by Afghan women, and who are historically have been silenced, have not been able to write or publish their works and stuff like that, which is the main reason I was like super interested in reading this. I also want to start reading more books from different countries. I may follow Emma, who I will put here, she's been doing for the last couple of years a round the world challenge, which I believe is of her own making, where she reads books from different countries, and she wants to read a book, or at least one book, from every country in the world. And great idea. So I might join her. I mean, middle of the year might be a weird time to start, but anyway, you know, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is now. So why not start now? But anyway, yes. Also, once again, beautiful cover. And the last book, and also one of the reasons why I love this bookshop, is that when you go into this bookshop, some of the books are wrapped in plastic. And you find out the ones that are wrapped in plastic, which are just exactly the same price as all the other copies of that book, are either signed by the author or they are first editions. And they just put them on the shelves with all of the other ones, but they wrap them in plastic so you know which ones to go for. And I did find a first edition of A Little Life, and I was so tempted, but I was like, my copy, I have strong connection to it. It's quite dog-eared, but in a lovely way, and it's got my library stamp in it and everything like that, so it's not worth it, really. Like, it could be in the future, but in terms of sentimental reasons, I don't need 2 copies of A Little Life. This, however, was on my to-read list, and in the stack I found a first edition. I was like, if it's the exact same price, why not pick up the first edition? So that's what I did. And that is Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Sugimura. Now this one I feel is like a bit of a modern fairy tale, but also speaks to a, not fear, but like worry, I think, for a lot of Japanese teenagers of a not having a sort of purpose and like direction all that much. And basically it follows seven teenagers who live in Tokyo, who wake up one day and find that their mirrors are shimmering, and if they touch it, they are transported to a castle, like a magical fairy tale castle, and they're told that if they discover like the mystery of the castle, they solve a bunch of riddles and everything and find this specific room, they will be granted a wish. But I think there's only one wish. But then also if they don't leave that castle by 5 o'clock, they're going to be punished. That's like, that is as vague as it is. So yeah, I'm thinking like dark-ish fairy tale. I've heard quite good things about this from the few people that I've seen read it. And yeah, and now I have a first edition of it, because why not? If it was the same price as the other ones, why not? And the last little stack of books are from my local independent bookshop, and they are books, like, I walked in there and for some reason the last couple of times I've been to Waterstones, despite the fact that they've had books that have been on my list that I've like really wanted to read and everything like that, I've just felt no desire to buy anything, and I've just not really felt that much desire to be in that shop. And I don't know if it is just, it feels too corporate, whereas when I go into little independent bookshops, you can't stop me. I'm like, I'm going to spend all of my money. And I restrained myself to 5. I could have bought so many more, but there were so many books in there that I was like, oh my god, yes, I wanted that one, and I wanted that one. And this was such an, even though it's a tiny little bookshop, probably not that much bigger than this room, probably. No, that's a lie. Probably double the size of this room, but that's still quite small, especially when you put all of the bookshelves in it and everything. And the guy who runs it was so friendly and so lovely and everything like that. So I was happy to spend the like 40 something pounds I spent in there. And I was like, I will be coming back and I will be buying stuff almost constantly. But yeah. The first one I got was The Phone Box at the Edge of the World. Beautiful cover. Oh, sorry, this is by Laura Imai Messina. But how pretty. This pink and blue colour, a lot of books have been coming out with them recently, and it's just such a lovely combination that I'm like all about it. And as I'm saying that, I've just realised that it's also the colour tone of my channel images. Clearly I have favourite colours, and so this is actually based on a true story, and it focuses on a phone box in a remote village in Japan. Yes. Where people go to speak to their loved ones that have passed. It doesn't say that the loved ones speak back or anything like that, it's just sort of it's a healing mechanism. People pick up the phone and they talk to their loved ones. And so this follows a woman called Yui, who loses her mother and her daughter, and when she hears about the phone box, she's like, okay, I'm gonna make a pilgrimage to this phone box. And I think then when she reaches it, she struggles to find like the words to say. So it sounds like a beautiful, heartbreaking book about, you know, loss and grief and dealing with that in like a lovely setting. So yes. The next is a little bit like Galatea. Picked this up because of the author. This has been on my list for a while because I believe she wrote this before A Little Life, and that's just spoiled who it is anyway. But after reading A Little Life and To Paradise and loving both of them, I was like, I'm not entirely sure she can miss with me. So that is The People in the Trees by Hana Yanagihara. And I like the fact that the sort of like the way you've got the writing and then the background matches with my copy of A Little Life. I mean, that's just literally just cosmetic detail, but whatever. Okay, so this looks like this is a magical realism-ish book, I guess, about an explorer in 1950 who finds a Micronesian island and discovers a tribe on there, and also finds out this tribe seems to have discovered the key to immortality, and they teach it to him, or he steals it. I'm not entirely sure which one seems more likely. I know which one seems more likely, but anyway. And he takes it back to America and like makes a fortune, and then there are like dire repercussions for this. So in terms of Hana Yanagihara's writing, this is very short, so she can write books that aren't bricks. Look, I'm not complaining. I loved both of them. The massive doorstops that she's written so far, so yes. The next, again, author pick as opposed to necessarily book pick, because Daisy Jones and the Six was absolutely amazing. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo this month. I won't say too much about it because, you know, wrap-up video and stuff like that. So I bought Milo Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which another, like, this cover is just summer, like, in a picture. Like, look at that. Look at the colours. But this is set in the 1980s, and it's about I don't know how many siblings? Is it like 4? Yeah, 4. Okay. 4 rich socialite kids who are throwing a massive beach party, or like party at their house, at the end of the summer, and something happens and they like burn their house down, and it's gonna, like, I imagine this is gonna be like it's a sibling book. It's gonna be a family dynamics, trying to either support each other through whatever has happened and maybe protect each other if one of them has done something wrong, or they're going to completely, you know, rat each other out. But yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a messy family drama, and I am in for that, because the way Taylor Jenkins Reid writes is so real, and like, and yet somehow has just a summer vibe to it. So her writing a summer book as well, I'm here for it. I next bought, this is a non-fiction, but ever since I saw him interviewed by Russell Howard, I mean, I knew about David Baddiel anyway, but he was talking about this book in particular, and I was like, yes, I want to read that, and that is Jews Don't Count by David Baddiel. Another short book. This is a non-fiction where David Baddiel talks about activists who are not fully intersectional, and he points out the fact that a lot of activists who are focused on like homophobia and racism and stuff like that, which absolutely needs to be fought against, a lot of the time Jewish people, who are one of the most oppressed people throughout history, are just completely left out of the conversation. Anti-Semitism is just not brought up, or it's brought up as a joke almost, and especially after all of the guff and like scandal that happened during the last English election about the anti-Semitism scandals and stuff like that, I think this is going to be quite an important book. And I like the way that David Baddiel writes and the way he talks, and it's all got a little bit of a humorous tinge to it. Like, it's not super angry or anything like that, but it's incredibly informative. I don't know if he's written it or if it was a documentary, but there's another thing of his that I want to read/watch, where he goes and talks to American neo-Nazis and Holocaust deniers and stuff like that. But yeah. And the last book I bought, which is, I guess, once again another one that I haven't been buying, despite really wanting to read it because the American cover is just so much better, and that is, I don't know if you just heard that, but we just made a really cute noise. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Anyway, that is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. The American cover looks like this, and I don't know, maybe I prefer it because it fits with the whole A Little Life and Shuggie Bain kind of covers, because this one always crops up in conversations about like A Little Life and Shuggie Bain and stuff like that, because so I'm imagining it as another harrowing, destroy my life kind of book, and as we have learnt, I am just all about that. So this is about Vanessa, who was abused by her English teacher when she was how old? 15. But didn't. It's one of those like heartbreaking stories where she didn't realise it was abuse until years later, when another student has come out and said that they were also abused, and now she has to reconcile what she remembers with the trauma that she clearly has because this was abuse, and like the lies that she's told herself. Because a lot of the time, especially for like young teenage girls who are like groomed by men in power like teachers and stuff like that, they cope by like one, acting like it was like they're fully consenting of it and all that stuff, but also like, oh well, he likes me because I'm mature, and all these lies that these abusers and these groomers tell them, and they're like, no, it's like, it makes me powerful and stuff, that this like older gentleman wants me and things like that, and it's like they fucked you up, and they don't want you because you're mature, they want you because you are young and you're innocent, and they can groom you and they can manipulate you. Like, that was kind of potentially a depressing book to end this on, but yeah, that was my little book haul. I say little book haul, there was like 20 something books in there. But anyway, let me know if you've read any of the books that I've hauled. Did you love them? Did you hate them? Do you think that I'm going to like them? Would you prefer me to do book hauls of this size where it's about 20 books, or would you like me to wait until I've got like 50 to 60 books? I mean, that would then make it a really long video, so, but it's like, obviously different people would prefer different things. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and maybe subscribe if you want to see more that I've done, but absolutely no pressure. Follow me on Bookstagram. I post photos and little reviews of books as and when I'm reading them, and I also post mini hauls before I do these big hauls. So I made a post about going to my local independent bookshop and stuff like that. As always, be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.